DoThisHere is a multi-modal interaction technique that streamlines cross-app tasks on mobile devices. We allow users to use voice to refer to off-screen information or features and use touch to specify the relevant on-screen output or input. Specifically, we support 3 features: query,
insert my dual code here,
do,
find this show on IMDb,
and keep.
keep this.
Our evaluation found that DoThisHere may reduce expert users' task load.